What is good? We're back. Today we have a roster review for your pleasure. Of course, it's presented by Fast Draft, the fastest, easiest fantasy app on the planet. You can use the promo code FFD and we'll double your first deposit up to $25 with that promo code. So make sure you go check that out. But again, today we have a roster review from one of the patrons, so we appreciate that. You know, this one's on shaky ground, this one, so it's going to be an interesting, there's a little context that goes around it, and then be interesting to kind of see where we can go with this one and how we can land. But it seems like it's going to be a more of a long-term outcome. So
he knew that. He said that up front. He's like, I know it's not great right this minute. So he's taking the right actions. He's taking steps, putting in effort.
Right. So he has there's a top heavy league here. There was an expansion draft where 3 teams quit. And this is kind of, I think, the cobbled together pieces of it. So he has no 25 picks except for his 401. He has his first and second in 26, and then he has all of his picks in 27. So not a whole lot of capital to work with right now as far as 25 goes, which is a bummer when you have a team that's, you know, in rough shape, right? So
sure does take a lot of fun out of it. Short term, it takes a lot of fun out of it.
Yeah, but let's read the roster real quick. It's super flex, no tight end premium, 12 man. We got Michael Penix, we got Anthony Richardson, we got Kirk Cousins, we got Levis, and we got Flacco on the quarterback side. So not the absolute worst there. You could work some stuff there.
Could be worse.
Yeah. Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle, Madison, and Michael Carter at the running back position. So that ranks on Dynasty Daddy's site. He's saying that they're the 10th overall running back room in this league. Wide receiver room is Ricky Pearsall, Khalil Shakir, Quentin Johnston, Rashad Bateman, A.D. Mitchell, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Jordan Whittington, Mike Williams, and the Broncos receiver Vele. Then on the tight end room, he's got Cole Kmet, Theo Johnson, and Chig Okonkwo. And then, like I said, Musgrave, and then Hunter Henry bringing up the back of that. So tight end room, you know, it's not premium either. So, you know, you got a shot on Theo Johnson there. You had Chig, who had a little bit of a resurgence. Musgrave isn't dead, but Kraft has kind of taken over so far, right? And then Hunter Henry is very startable at the moment, right? So here's the team. Here's everything that he has if you're watching on the tubes. And this is the Dynasty Daddy website. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go check that out. So, you know, first and foremost, you're in a rough spot. Like you said, it's a top heavy league. So you're not even like, hey, there's one really good team. If he got some injuries, I could make a trade or two and be in the mix of things, maybe, right? And I don't think really with this roster you would be, even if there was a lot of teams that were in the mix, because you just have some deficiencies. Unfortunately, this is the way I see it is you're not turning this around in 1 year. So you got to have patience. You have ETN, right? Which could have some value, but not right now.
Right.
Ramondre Stevenson, we like, or at least Doug and I like, and could have some value, but it's not enough right now. Rico Dowdle's a free agent. We'll see where he ends up. I thought he had a good end of the season. He could have some value. Not right now. Anthony Richardson could have some value. Not right now. Kirk Cousins, somebody might be interested at some point, but not right now. Michael Penix is the only guy right now that people are probably jazzed up about, or at least some people. And then Ricky Pearsall and Shakir, right? But they're not. Ricky Pearsall could be valuable enough to get you into the first round this year, right now, right? Other than that, you almost have nobody else that's there. Like Whittington, love having him on the team. Could get a value bump here. Could be interesting. Christian Kirk, you know we love Kirk, but injured last year, didn't do anything to really help himself. And then Calvin Ridley, older guy, veteran. We'll see what the quarterback situation is. Week 4 of the season, somebody might be interested in buying Ridley from you, but that's going to be for something else in the middle of the season and picks, And maybe you're in the draft and maybe somebody might say, hey, they got Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying that they're getting Aaron Rodgers. They got Aaron Rodgers. I'll take Ridley from you in the draft in a package, whatever.
Right, exactly. Or Cam Ward or something, because they got
something
the first
exciting.
Pick. Something can happen. Calvin Ridley could be movable sooner than later based on what the Titans are going to do at the quarterback position.
All right. And real quick, before I turn the reins over to you, I will say that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 orphan teams that look like, at least from the Dynasty Daddy standpoint. So even if you filled 1 or 2 of them, the first thing you need to do is as soon as those teams come in is you start attacking and get a dialogue. Not in a malicious way of attacking, but sending just shit out there to see what you can get. Those guys are coming in looking to shake it up. Not always, but sometimes they're going to get in there and get aggressive and say, "Oh, I got to tear this whole thing down," or "Hey, this is a decent team. I'm going to get aggressive. There's only 2 other good teams in this league." So that's my first thing when I look at this overall as a unit of a league and not knowing a whole lot about it outside of, maybe there's some questionable owners or leadership because of how the state of this looks. I have no idea. That's typically that's a lot of turnover, and you've already had a dispersal, it seems. So what this guy wants to do is the admiral thing is he wants to get out of the league, but he doesn't want to just be that guy of, when I had this, I didn't have a lot going on, and now I got a lot going on, so I'm out, right? You have every right to leave this league, it would seem, because everybody else has, but he's trying to get it in order before he gives it away. So what do you think overall is the moves to make with this roster?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Scott's Tots is the name of the team here. And like you said, just respect his process of not wanting to leave. A couple of guys already left. Respect him for taking the steps here, joining the squad here, being in the Patreon, being in the Discord, watching our shows, reaching out to us for this roster review. Unfortunately, right this second, Scott's Tots, you're fried for now. But he knows it. He said it. He knows what he's up against. So like you said, you got a first round pick and a second round pick in 2026. So if you're hanging on, even if you're not going to be around for 2026, if you want to stay, we respect that. You got to hang on to those for dear life. Like Casey said, you're not going to turn this thing around in 1 year. You're not going to turn this team around by trading 1 draft pick next year. Your 2025 pick that you have is the 401. So you obviously gave up the 1-1 and the 2-1 and 3-1 at some point. So what I enjoy about these types of processes, whether it's good teams, bad teams, you don't know exactly how the team got here, right? He's got ETN. 2 years ago, ETN was top 5 scoring running back. Right this minute, with the way things going, when in Jacksonville this year, we see on Dynasty Daddy website, he's getting traded for a second round pick all day long. 210, 212, that type of stuff is happening. I offered 212, offered 210 in one of my leagues for ETN this week. And I offered it, but I got rejected. He's got Anthony Richardson. Did Anthony Richardson get on his team 2 years ago as a rookie and as a top 1 or 2 draft pick in the rookie draft? Because that stings a lot. That's right. So ETN's value dropped out on you. Anthony Richardson's value dropped out on you. Kirk Cousins' value dropped out. Did he pay decent capital for Kirk Cousins before his Achilles ruptured, last year? Did he buy? Please tell me on this team, just for luck's sake, that he didn't buy Calvin Ridley during the spike last year. So how long did you have Chig on this team? Did you buy Chig 2 years ago when he was expensive, or did you get him for free? Rico Dowdle should have been a second rounder already. You should have traded second round. You should have traded Rico Dowdle during the season for a second round pick, just because you could. The not right now spiel that you gave to start was highly accurate for this team. You just got to be, and you got to be the eager beaver. You got to be eager beaver to jump and talk. I like the part about getting the dialogue started with the new owners when they come in. You don't have much to offer right this second. And after the rookie draft or the NFL draft, whatever happens with Tennessee, free agency, they're obviously going to have a quarterback not named Will Levis as a starter. Calvin Ridley will get you some love. Ricky Pearsall will get you some love. I don't think it's going to really – we've talked about that because Casey's a Niners fan. The Niners come up on this show all the time. I don't think the Niners going to be able to do a whole lot in the wide receiver department. So I assume that Ricky Pearsall goes up from here in value. But at the moment, he is probably –
Debo trade happens, you have a window of opportunity to move Pearsall. And there isn't a single piece on this team that I'm saying don't do it when the opportunity rises, because there's just – it's burning it down to the ground.
This team is right now in such a bad spot for value wise and all your players combined. Like, I wouldn't sell Anthony Richardson for 2 third round picks, like there's You
Right.
get that juice isn't worth the squeeze. You just need to let Anthony Richardson sit there and hope for him to come back. Hope for him to get into a spot where either A, it's on the Colts with a different game plan every week to maximize his strengths, or B, it's 2 years from now and he's playing for the Niners, et cetera, something like that, where Anthony Richardson is put into a spot to maximize his situation, and hopefully that growth that can come. He's not going to turn into Josh Allen accuracy, but maybe he can. There was a piece that we saw during the playoffs about how Josh Allen changed something and with his footwork or with his hips or something, and his accuracy just was like a light switch. Give that light switch to Anthony Richardson, please. But you're riding with Anthony Richardson on this team. Because you're so far down. If you were pretty close, or if you were a middling team and you could take Anthony Richardson and do something with him, I still probably wouldn't do that because the upside is so great. Just hanging on to him and riding it out. Kirk Cousins, now when he gets to start, he's going to start for somebody next year. There's too many teams. I heard on the radio today they think there's 12 teams that need a quarterback. I haven't gone through to look at them, but I say that all the time. Casey knows that there's not 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Kirk Cousins is one of them, and you would think he'd be better a year removed away from his Achilles.
Yeah,
so,
well, the good news is next week we got a QB landscape show coming out, so make sure you like, subscribe, comment below, 5-star review, and but make sure you're subscribed so that'll come right to your fingertips, and we can solve the landscape problem of where we think people are going and how many quarterbacks there are. So
I like it, definitely. So yeah, Kirk Cousins is going to get a chance to redeem himself on this team. You don't even need him to play week one. You don't even need to make it to week one with Kirk Cousins on your team. You're going to take that value bump of Kirk Cousins goes to the Raiders or Kirk Cousins goes to the Steelers. And now Kirk Cousins would play in with any team that needs a quarterback right now is better for him than sitting behind Michael Penix, And like you said, I mean, there's nobody on this team that you're holding on to for dear life. And if you did have one of those hold on to for dear life kind of guys, like say just, for instance, you had a Jamar Chase, like you got to tear down from him and get 4 players. If there's if there's a Casey Myers in your league that will pay you top dollar, like high end retail value for Michael Penix, like 110% of his value, then maybe you can make a move with Penix. I'm looking to strike when Kirk Cousins gets another starting role, hanging on to Anthony Richardson. That's the quarterback situation right now. You're not going to get anything for Will Levis. Just keep Will Levis and Joe Flacco. If he doesn't retire and he's a backup somewhere, you just hang on to him. Maybe the starter in front of him gets hurt and he comes in, he gets a game in. Maybe you can get a 3rd round pick from a contender who needs a quarterback for the playoffs. That's just you're holding on. That's your hope there.
Somebody comes in and gets and has drafts Cam Ward, and then they want Calvin Ridley from you, and they might give you a little something extra for Levis in that deal or something, because you
a little combo.
Maybe that's the backup or something. But
that's right. Well, Levis has tools. He has a lot of tools. He's got some footwork issues, and he may never be a starter in this league. So that's like. I mean, you could say the same thing. Anthony Richardson's got some problems too. He's got some big time tools, but I would say it's a lot closer. I would be willing to.
Yeah, well, we've seen Anthony Richardson put up 20 fantasy points in a quarter.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Exactly.
For this team, what I would be aiming to do would be I want to try to see how many picks basically I can put on this roster for 26 and 27. Right.
Right.
That's essentially what I'm trying to do. The best assets, they're foolproof. The insurance is good. That's the moves that you're trying to position to. And it's not to say that when you're making those deals, you're not trying to get some younger throw-ins that could escalators, as I like to call them. That's the goal with this team. Anything you can do. Michael Penix, a tier down and a pick. And
right.
That's kind of what I'd be looking to do. Or if you can get a really high pick or whatever it is, that's just. And then I'm always going to try to squeeze that other just throw in like the Theo Johnson. He's on your team, Theo Johnson, but like Theo Johnson type players that have a high potential ceiling. They just didn't reach it for whatever reason, injury, yada, yada, yada. But like Theo Johnson would be, a throw. Kendre Miller would be somebody who would be a throw in on a lot. Nobody wants Kendre Miller anymore, right? He's had 2 seasons. Right. He's been hurt. He stinks. It's like, there's been a few times when he gets on the field and you're like, damn, he looks all right. He just has to be on that field. Now Kellen Moore's there. So not saying that's the guy. He was a guy that popped into my mind.
And this time last year for me, that was Josh Downs. right?
Right.
This time last year, I made a big trade in one of my leagues, and for the absolute exact definition of that, the escalator, the throw in that got
Chase
zero
Brown.
value in the trade was Josh Downs, and then I moved on to Chase Brown later on in the offseason. But
Got so much Chase
right.
Brown as escalators last year, and sometimes it works and other times it doesn't. But you're not paying the whole point is that that's not the guy you were seeking. That's the squeeze that you're trying to put on at the end to figure out.
Yeah, perfectly said. And then put that part on steroids. Like for this team, like you said, there's no turning around. If you're able to sell Calvin Ridley for 2 or it's something like that, when you get into the draft, if you can do it for 2025 picks, that makes it that much more fun. But if it turns into 2026 picks and stuff, what you're going to end up doing is getting on those picks, and you need to trade back. You basically need to take a whole year off. And then understand that when you get those next year's draft picks coming around, you're not just going to pick up, you don't need to just go draft 15 rookies in the same draft class.
Right.
Trade back, make a pick. In that trade back, you got another pick next year. Trade back, make a pick. In that trade back, you got another pick in a Josh Downs, Chase Brown type player as we go through the motions here and help bring those types of players to you this season.
I mean, 2 things I would add, like, let's say you're trading Calvin Ridley, and let's say they won't give you the 25, but they'll give you the 26 and the 27 too. Like, a lot of the times I'm not interested in that. In a rebuild, if I've been exhausting all my options and I got to move a pick an extra year away, I'm okay with that, right?
100%.
I'm gonna tell that person then that, hey, I'm down to do this and I'm down to help you out because now I'm freeing up some equity that you might be keeping for this year to title hunt. But that means I need a little extra because of I got to wait a year or 2 before these are even relevant. And you could be the best team by then. And this is, 212 and yada, yada, yada. And, or another thing I like to do is I look at the team and I say, all right, well, this is a really good team. It's competing. But it's got Mike Evans, and it has Stephon Diggs, and it has Alvin Kamara or Henry, and it has. So instead of going after this year's pick, punt that pick down the line 2 years. And if this manager isn't good at managing this thing right now, he's like, oh, I don't give a shit about this pick. I'm dominating. I'm gonna be good forever. And then all of a sudden, he's 103, in 2007.
Oh man, that's
2017.
Perfectly said. I love that a lot. And take that, like you said, exactly. That's perfect. And then
2027. I'll get it right one of these times. Jesus Christ.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut
2027. Keep it going.
I went 2007, 2017, 2020.
You just covered 30 years and 3 decades, bro.
I did.
You covered 3 decades in 15 seconds.
My bad.
You kept changing the years on me, so you kept screwing with my head, but I love
it.
Sorry. And so like this is no tight end premium. So as like you said, Theo Johnson would be. There's nothing wrong with getting a Theo Johnson or even if it's a last second squeeze in before the deal's done, like a Cade Stover or somebody that is boys with CJ Stroud over there. Like, but it's not tight end premium, and you got a couple good shots already. So I would bring that back around to Kendrick Miller's a good wide receivers for sure.
Keyshawn Boutte.
Yes, like just like you mentioned it in the show you did the other night, but like I'm guilty of trying to make a trade to get better quickly 2 years ago in one of my leagues and gave away Nico Collins. At the same time, I drafted him in the offseason of a startup in the 14th round, but on a team where I was impatient because it's a home league and I care about bragging rights. I wanted to trade, and I gave away Nico Collins in a package. That's the type of, Nico Collins is, a year and a half ago was free.
Throw in.
Right? So a complete throw in. So those are the types of guys like you just keep, that's the way you build this thing back up. And, and I do believe there will be a chance for Ramondre Stevenson to have some value.
Yeah.
But if the NFL draft falls the wrong way and they say, hey, we're going to just go and put everything. Defense is decent. Sure, it definitely didn't come out and play the way we wanted it to. It got called soft a couple times by our coach. But here comes Vrabel. And if they're like, let's just put some stuff around Drake May, including a couple receivers, a tight end, and a running back, like all of a sudden, maybe the Ramondre Stevenson coming back party don't happen. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But if that happens, if they get somebody in that, like I was talking about the last show, if they get somebody that top 15, top 12 running backs of names that we really like by the time rookie drafts come around and stuff like that, you're just going to have to wait even longer on Ramondre Stevenson. So maybe you could get something done with Ramondre before April, before the rookie draft, the NFL draft happens, just to take that gamble out of the way, just because now you might have to wait till week 1 or week 10, or maybe Ramondre's just 1A, 1B splitting time and doesn't get, the chance to give you those high-end RB2, low-end RB1 type weeks to trade with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. I think they're deficient in a lot of other areas, so I don't know if I understand the rudiments of what you're saying. But again, for me, I'm going to see what I can do and see if anybody's interested in those guys. I'm going to do my due diligence, but I'm going to mostly probably be waiting in season for a lot of these trades to really go down, unless it's in the draft or one of these, like, let's just say draft comes and goes and it's the opposite, or nothing happens at the running back position really, or it's a 7th round guy or something. But then Ramondre starts getting steamed up.
Then you trade him before he gets a chance to get hurt. Before he gets a chance to get hurt.
But, for the most part, a lot of these guys are going to be in-season trades for me. And, like a guy like Calvin Ridley, if I can't get picks for him, like, I know Cedric Tillman's a guy I've been talking about a lot, but like, if I could, like a player like that has the upside of being like a number 1, and that was like the best I could potentially do on a Calvin Ridley, like that, those would be like then the targets of guys that are still young and that could, really ascend into breakouts right now would be, another player trade for that.
Yeah,
version. I mean, I'm mostly trying to get picks and throw-ins like Kayshon Boutte we talked about on the breakout.
Scott Stotts should spend 20 minutes after he gets this video and send out Calvin Ridley for Cedric Tillman and a 2 and a 2027 3 or something, like, pile it up for a minute. First offer, pile it up, make it seem like you got something worth having, So send him for Cedric Tillman and a 2026 2 and a 2027 3 and see what happens, and work your way backwards. I completely agree with Casey. I'd give you Calvin Ridley for Cedric Tillman right now, probably straight up on this team. But you shouldn't have to, and you should be able to get something else. I love that approach. But go ahead. I was just going to circle back real quick to the Ramondre gamble, because what I laid out a scenario and you laid out an opposite scenario, but then on each one of our scenarios is actions to be taken. Because like you said, I got to gamble on whether I think the Patriots might add somebody whose name we know in the running back market just to make this offense move along. And then now you're waiting on Ramondre. You say they got a lot of deficiencies, which they do, and they need to put draft capital elsewhere, which could give Ramondre a bump, so but then you're waiting on, so I think that just to kind of explain both sides of that coin to Scott Stotts is good. Either direction he decides to play it, it's good logic on both sides. And it's really just kind of like a learning thought process and saying, hey, here's just a way to think about your players and your teams. Same thing with Travis Etienne. Obviously, the Jags have a lot of problems and they got some situations to handle, and they have Tank Bixby. So there's that gamble of them bringing in a named player from the, a running back that we're in love with in the NFL draft. That's likely not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Or he gets traded, and now you just got, a chance. If you're trading for ETN, I'm sure that it's for either a starting spot or either a spot on a team that scores a lot of points. Like, bad teams are not trading for ETN to put him to make him a backup, Right. So that's just another way to look at it. What else are you thinking here?
No, I mean, I was just going to kind of summarize everything. So, first things first is it's going to be patience. Second thing is you want to get rid of as much of this stuff as possible so that all those 26 picks turn into 1-1s and 2-1s and, whatever you can get. That's the goal here. We're going to turn this into a shit box, and we're not going to even be, we don't want to be competitive. We want to, try to lose as many games as possible. We're trying to get rid of players off the team. When the guys take over orphans, you try to swoop in.
it could become fun, and that could be the exact same game you want to play for 2027 and try to get Arch Manning.
Yeah. I think this is going to turn into you're playing the same game in 26. Basically, is kind of what you need to do. But it may be attractive to somebody if you come in and, hey, I got the 1-1 in 26. I got the 1-5. I got the 1-7. I got the one, and then I got some 2s, and if you come, like, that might be more an attractive team, so you can maybe then get out. If you want to leave it in a rock solid position, it's probably going to take more than this year because you're starting it in a hole. So you might have to do 2 years of it, but you could come away with some decent picks and a skeleton crew of some fun players. And somebody like me would be like, oh, that's an interesting team. I'll take that over. Like, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So, when the other key point is when the orphans come in, you got to be ready to go. You got to be active and talking to them and seeing what you can get from them, seeing if you can grab any picks from them. This being, again, the top heavy league that it is, and we've looked at some of the rosters as Big Co was talking, and the top guys are pretty heavy. Like, there's really no reason to try to middle a team out. You need to bide your time. Hopefully those teams will get a little weaker here and there. And unfortunately, some of those guys have a lot of picks too. So that's probably why there's a lot of orphans in this league, because some people got had. So we're going to attack those orphans, try to suck some value out of them. We're going to bide our time. We're going to try to tear down anywhere that we can. And then we're going to try to acquire as many picks and escalators as possible throughout. And you're just going to have to be active. Like, if Theo Johnson's being steamed up by somebody, go try to get rid of Theo Johnson. When Ben Johnson comes in and the chemistry is good between Cole Kmet and Caleb Williams, try to trade Cole Kmet, see if anybody will take him from you. And you can use Dynasty Daddy to kind of go look at everybody's, obviously you have Sleeper so you can do that, but this is a nice, easy way to look at it as well, for you. And it gives you an idea. I think this is Keep Trade Cuts values on here. You can use different values if you want. If you're a Patreon member, you can use our values. They're linked to this. But, like I said, Ricky Pearsall, Khalil Shakir, those are going to be some options that people might be interested in. And Stevenson and ETN are going to be things that people will be interested in. But ETN could really get steamed up here of, Cohen loves ETN. ETN's going to be the new Bucky for their offense. Yeah. And, he does, all it's going to take is an article of saying that, ETN had success rates on these runs that Bucky ran and had success rates on. So the correlation's there, and all of a sudden ETN's going to jump 2 rounds.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
So you just got to be ready and willing to pounce, but it's probably going to be a lot more in-season transactions for you.
I like it. Well, look, before we get out of here, let me say something. I want everybody listening to hear this. Can you scroll up and show the team less cowbell?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this team, less cowbell on Dynasty Daddy, just like Casey just said, this is, I think, when you first just click on Dynasty Daddy's website to try to pull your team up and have a good time looking at all these different breakdowns it gives you, I think it's Keep Trade Cut is the first set of values or whatever.
Default.
What you need to do is get in here and get in our Discord and get logged in with our rankings, so this updates through our rankings and uses our rankings to come up with their numerical values. I'm not talking about Keep Trade Cut necessarily, but just as a whole, this website,
shelter for value. It's garbage.
Less Cowbell, the team, it's tagged as a fraud. But I was looking around this thing in this league. This team has Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Tyrone Tracy, and Garindo, and Jonathan Brooks is hurt. I get it, not much for running backs, but he's got the 1-1. He's got the 1-1 and the 1-2 and the 2-2. So he's about to do damage. And then he's got Neighbors, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Jaden Waddle, Michael Pittman, Cedric Tillman, Wicks, Yoshi Voss, and some guys on the bench that could come to life, and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. And Kelsey might not be playing anymore. There's Noah Gray. This is the opposite team of a fraud right here. So just if you use this website, which can be a great helper, just an asset to your little tool pouch, little toolkit here for Dynasty and how to get through your leagues and make them better. Just watch out for the labels of fraud and frisky and contenders, because you look around, you've just got to figure that out. Get in here and get in with our group and get our rankings in here, so those things will be a little bit more accurate. Yeah,
this is a killer right here. We're looking at Les Cowbell. He's got your 1-1. That's devastating.
Oh, that doesn't feel good.
That stinks. But yeah,
rub that in. Scott's top.
I don't know why they're pegging it as a fraud. There's some numerical value that's telling them that, and somewhere in the running back room is weak. But like you said, I don't know how. Obviously, it has a lot of weight here. It's in bright green on the 1-1. But he's gonna add Genty to this room and then do whatever he wants with the 1-2, right?
Exactly.
So that's a good team, but that's a good team with a good roster, and then you come all the way up here to the top of the man's Campbell, and I think this is the King Dingaling. He's got Allen and Murray, and then he's got Bijan, Jacobs, McCaffrey, Kamara, and he's got Justin Jefferson, Puka, JSN, Wilson, Marv, AJ Brown.
He's stacked.
Really good team, and then Trey McBride is his only tight end, but then he also
bunch of draft picks.
Right. When you see those teams, usually look like your team in the draft pick area, and this team's like, this is really not. This sucks. He's got 106, 112, and 212, and he basically has like all his picks. He's got a better third. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. So, all right, man. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, good. Thanks for coming through, Scott's Tots. Appreciate you coming through and throwing in this roster review and contributing to the funds to keep this thing growing, bro.
Yeah, if you want a roster review, come over to the Patreon. We can set that up for you, and there's all sorts of extra episodes and content, and we got ADP and we got rankings, and we'll have a little rookie draft kit for your pleasure. YouTube memberships are live, so that's another way you can. If you don't want to be a Patreon guy, we can link the Discord through the YouTube memberships. Another way to support the team here, and then of course, make sure you're checking out Fast Draft. Download that app. You can use promo code FFD, first deposit. You get up to a $25 match with our promo code. And, it's the first, it's the best ball style platform that gets you in and out in under 10 minutes of draft, right? So there's a lot of fun stuff going on over there. They got multiple different formats to compete in. You can do the Origins, which is an all rookie draft, and that's exclusive to Fast Draft. You simply draft 6 rookies at any position, and then you set your boosters at the end of the draft, and you compete to win cash. It really couldn't be any simpler, or any more simple, rather. It's fun because who doesn't love a good Smarter Than You contest when it comes to the new crop of rookies? And that's really all this is. Everybody just wants to be the most right. And, so you can measuring stick your way, put that knowledge to the test, and do an Origins drafts, next time you're hitting the commode. And then you can go the more traditional route, and you can draft a Flex 4 league, which is you draft 6 running backs, wide receivers, or tight ends. You set your boosters, and you're ready to compete. So these are all 10 teams, 6 rounds, 60 players. Everyone listening to this can draft 60 players. That's the cool part about this. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time. You don't have to know the third receiver on every team. You don't have to know who the backup running back is and try to gain an advantage grabbing, Jimbo Jimerson. You can just it's all big dogs, right?
Yep.
And so it makes this a lot of fun. And like I said, you're in and out real quick. There's the advantage to going right now is that you're going to be able to put together combinations of players that you wouldn't be able to put together later in the season, right? So there's definitely exploitable ADP right now, and you don't have to go nuts, but it's fun to draft a team when you got nothing to do. You come in here 10 minutes, you're in and out. You drafted a team, either rookies or how you regularly would draft a best ball team with the quarterback, and there's a lot of no-rake tournaments for volume players to maximize their ROI. So a lot of good stuff going on a Fast Draft. Make sure you use promo code FFD. Tell them that we sent you. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time. Peace.